Rahab had lived her life against a wall. Jericho's stones were thick and old, sun-warmed by day and cool at night. From her window she could see the plains stretching outward, caravans moving like threads across the land. She had learned to read travelers the way other women read weather. She had also learned the cost of survival. When the two men knocked at her door, she knew immediately they did not belong. Their clothes were wrong. Their eyes watched too carefully. Fear clung to them, not the fear of being caught in sin, but the fear of being hunted. "I know who you are," she told them quietly once the door was barred. They froze. "Your God," she continued, lowering her voice, "has dried up seas. Kings have fallen before him. The hearts of our people melt because of you." It was the first time she had spoken the truth aloud. Jericho trusted its walls. Rahab did not. When the king's men came searching, she hid the spies beneath flax on her roof. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure it would give her away. If she were discovered, there would be no mercy. Jericho did not forgive betrayal. That this was not betrayal. It was alignment. "I have heard," she had told the spies, "that the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Not a local deity, not a tribal protector. God." She asked for a promise in return, a thread of hope strong enough to hold her family. "When you come," she said, "remember me." They gave her a scarlet cord. "Tie it in the window. Gather your household. Stay inside." The night Jericho fell, Rahab stood by that window, fingers wrapped around the red thread. The city shook beneath her. Stone cracked. Shouts split the air. The walls she had lived within her whole life crumbled like dried clay. But her section stood. When the dust settled and the shouting moved on, she did not know whether to step outside or remain where she was. Her city was gone. Her name, as Jericho had known it, meant nothing now. The same two men returned. "You kept your word," one said. "So did you," she replied. They led her and her family through rubble and smoke, past ruins that had once defined her world. She did not look back. There was nothing to return to. Israel's camp felt strange ordered but alive in a way Jericho had not been. Tents instead of towers. A tabernacle instead of a temple carved from pride. Eyes watched her as she passed. Some curious, some wary. She had been many things in Jericho. Here she was an outsider. The first weeks were the hardest. The rhythms were unfamiliar. The laws were strict. The stories were vast: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Egypt, the sea. She listened like someone starving. This was not a God who demanded payment at every turn. This was a God who rescued slaves. Sometimes at night she fingered a scrap of scarlet thread she had kept hidden in her garment. A reminder that faith had once been a risk measured in heartbeats. A woman from the tribe of Judah began sitting with her during meals. No interrogation, just presence. Slowly, Rahab learned new prayers, new songs, a new name spoken without suspicion. Time softened the stares. Work filled her days grinding grain, tending children, mending cloth. Ordinary tasks, sacred in their own way. She had once survived by reading desire in men's eyes. Now she learned to read scripture in the cadence of recited promises. The God she had chosen from a distance became the God who dwelled among them. Years later, when she held her own child and told him the story of a sea that parted and walls that fell, she did not tell it as rumor. She told it as testimony. "I lived behind stone," she would say, "and I believed stone could save us. But I heard of a God who moves water and topples walls. So I tied a thread in my window and chose him instead." Her son would trace the red cord she kept in a small woven pouch and ask, "Were you afraid?" "Yes," Rahab would answer. "And you believed anyway?" She would smile them, thinking of the night the walls fell and her world with them. "Yes," she would say. And that is how I began again. In Israel, Rahab was no longer defined by the city that fell. She was defined by the faith that made her rise.